Some of you wanted me to discuss balancing equations. I will explain it in a very brief manner. First, I will explain carbon reaction with oxygen. We know when carbon react with oxygen, it can create carbon dioxide as a product. So this side, the left hand side, we are calling reactants. The right hand side we are calling products. Now let's look at what is this balancing means. We know according to Dalton's atomic theory also that the atoms cannot be destroyed. So that the same atoms has to appear in the other side in the products as well. But there can be different rearrangements. So that we have to obey that one. And also another thing is, according to conservation of mass cannot disappear. So that if you have 5 carbon atoms in this left hand side, there has to be 5 carbon atoms in the right hand side also. So we are going to use that theory and also Dalton's theory where there can be rearrangement occurs. We are going to balance this equation. So majorly what we are looking at is the conservation of mass. Now the same equation I will take and try to balance it. Now I'm going to look at how many number of carbon atoms are there. Carbon, there is 1. I'm going to use tallying method. Oxygen, there are 2 atoms. In the opposite side, if I do, for carbon there is 1. Oxygen, there are 2. That means the same number of carbon atoms are in the products also, and the same number of oxygen atoms are in the other side. So some of you might have a confusion, what is this number means? That number, that tiny number next to an element means there are 2, like since the number 2 is given, there are 2 atoms joined together. And in this one, the 2 means there's carbon and oxygen joined, and also there are 2 oxygen atoms joined to carbon simply. Okay, I'm not going to explain about the diagram or how it looks like. I'm only explaining you how to balance this equation. I would move to another one example. Now I'm going to discuss about little bit of a advanced reaction, which is a neutralization reaction where we can use sodium hydroxide reaction with hydrochloric acid. Now you need to remember how the reaction occurs. First of all, the salt is made. For the salt, one part of the metal one part of the alkali, this is the alkali, and one part from the acid will be used to create the salt. So here we have sodium and chlorine atom, so both together will create sodium chloride, plus rest of the atoms what we have is 2 hydrogen atoms and oxygen. Those are going to create water molecule. And also remember, once it is considered as a specific molecule, you can't change these tiny numbers. Okay, we call these subscripts, so we can't change those numbers, subscript numbers. Now we will see whether this is balanced or how do we balance it. I will take sodium only 1 in this side, oxygen in 1, and hydrogen in this side there's 1 and this side there's 1, so that there are 2 altogether. Chlorine, there's 1. Let me look at the other side also. Sodium, there is 1 only this side. Chlorine, sorry, I will go in the same order. Oxygen 1, hydrogen 2, chlorine 1. So you can see both sides balanced. So this equation is also balanced. Let's move to little bit more complicated one. That is the copper carbonate reaction with hydrochloric acid. Another alkali reacting with an acid. Now here you need to remember copper is having valency 2, so that it can create 2 chlorine atoms. So I am writing CuCl2 plus, it's creating water H2O plus carbon dioxide. These are the products. Now in this one we'll try to balance the equation. For copper there is 1, for carbon there is 1, oxygen. Now you can see the subscript given here 3, so that there are 3 oxygen atoms. Hydrogen 1, chlorine only 1. Let me look at the other side. I have 1 copper, I have 1 carbon, there is 3 oxygen, there is 2 hydrogen, there is 2 chlorine. So if you notice, there are 2 places which is not balanced each other. So which means we have to change the number of atoms in the reactant side. So the reactant side is this side. How do we increase 1 hydrogen and 1 chlorine? If you look over here, we can add number 2 in front of this. These numbers are called coefficient. We can change those numbers. We can increase or we can decrease. So here, but we can't make it 0 because it's something that already in the reactant. So now once we add that 2, this number increased to 2. After that, this equation will become balanced. That is a brief explanation. There are many more other things like valency and how the products are formed. But since you have exam close by, I'm only explaining this much. Thank you for watching. Please press the like button.